We are recording with Mr. Graham Dunlop of Grimerica and everything on Thursday, May 16th, 2024 at 11:12 a.m. Eastern Time. Everything Canada does seem to be, I don't know, on fire, circling the drain, upside down. It's the plane that pull up, pull up. I have a couple of friends in Canada and I'm watching it and I'm like, man, it's like, hate speech bill. Then it's like, and by the way, that staple of like modern law that there is no like retro crime because it's, physically impossible at the flow of space time to not do something and to convict someone currently of something that at the time wasn't, illegal. Yeah, we're just gonna throw that one out the window too. So if you've ever done anything in the past, by the way, that we don't like, you're screwed now. So that's my pitch for Graham. Please go in the description. Please go subscribe to his podcast. More subscribers and a bigger platform and more money always make every other problem easier. But yeah, how are you doing in the seemingly flaming maple syrup? I don't know if it's just immigration, China, land, real estate owned dumpster fire that right now is Canada. Though beautiful.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think similar to you, like trying to pay attention to things, like trying to follow things not too deep, but pay attention to things going on without losing your mind, without sort of getting depressed. I mean, it's pretty I'm constantly flipping back and forth between disappointed in people and but also fascinated about what's going on. I mean, it really is incredible. The government is waking more people up than anybody right now in Canada. I mean, people are just fed up. They're fed up
Yeah.
with the carbon tax. They're fed up, and we talked about the carbon tax like 3 or 4 years ago. And people were like, "What?" It was kind of like small, so it really it wasn't really getting a lot of but I was like, I'm paying about $100 a month in this carbon tax. And now it's like huge right now. It's like hundreds and hundreds. And they're lying about it sort of openly that, oh, you're supposed to get this money back. They don't even want to call it a tax. It's just one of these other little things now that's just waking people up here. So, and I mean, the thing you talked about must have been that online harms act. And I don't know if that's gonna, I mean, who knows if it's ever gonna come to be, but they sure are trying. I mean, it really does feel like they are just listening to the consultants that they pay billions of dollars for every year. I they probably spend more on consultants than your government, and we're like 1/10 the size, or maybe 100th the size. I mean, so it really just feels like they're following the globalist narrative, like they're really pushing. It's like we're a test case of like how hard can we push people on this climate grift? I mean, the narrative is set. There's no room for anything, right? The government pays an organization to do studies so that the government can support their policy. It's unbelievable. And then
Mm.
it's just a web of NGOs that are all funded by the governments and getting all this money to support the narrative. Meanwhile, there's a whole bunch of science on the other side that they will not accept. So it's all just it's a totally narrative driven scam here that I think people are kind of waking up to, but there's also like a bunch of people asleep in Canada too. So that's the other thing I keep going back and forth on is like, really look at all these people. Like, so on one hand, it's good people are waking up. On the other hand, there's just a bunch that are just going to go along with whatever the TV tells them to go along with. The
Yeah.
propaganda here is different than in the States. It's a little more subtle,
Hmm.
but it's as bad.
I'm with you. I'd oscillate between like hopefulness and just black pill despair.
Oh
Almost
yeah,
like almost hourly. Like,
yeah.
it really
It's not like a once in a year thing. It's like a
no, no,
daily
no, no, no.
exercise of
I've been up for a couple hours today. I've already gone between it's all working out perfectly to
yeah,
it's over.
totally. Yeah,
It's over.
totally.
And then
Totally.
back and
Yeah.
forth. And in this conversation, I'll probably do it again. But like,
Yeah.
but to find the optimism, right? Because the
Yeah.
easiest thing, the I guess the entropy driven thing is to be black pilled. It's the easiest, lowest hanging fruit. Oh, it's all over. So, for the sake of, I guess actually trying, the optimism is that the government is red pilling more people than you or I or anyone ever could, right?
Exactly. And it's like, why? Why are they doing it? Because they should be like, wouldn't you consider making it easier on people if you want to implement all these totalitarian things? Like you could make their life more comfortable. You could make them, then they would just go along with anything you said. I mean, it's really weird the way they're this is what I have rolling around in my head. It's like, what? why are they making it so difficult for people? I mean, the cost of living here, they call it the cost of surviving now. It's not the cost of living anymore. It's the cost of surviving. Honestly, it's, you talk about that $100 of carbon tax. Well, everything is through the roof right now. The inflation is through the roof. Like people are having a hard time. Normal people that make decent money are having a hard time making ends meet. So and yet and yet they continue. Like it's like almost, they almost want to revolt. They need a revolution.
So I always go back to, so yeah, you look at it and you go, if you really wanted to do this, you would roll it out extremely slowly, just very, very slowly over generations, right? And so I always come back to, there's, for me at least, there's probably more, but at least in my simple mind, I look at two possible explanations. And it's, the analogy I always use is, I don't follow sports, but I think everyone understands American football, is if you're making some stupid play in the last 10 seconds of the game, there's really two explanations. Number one is that you're up by 100 points and the other team physically cannot win in 10 seconds. So you're just like, screw it, let's go for it. Why not? The other explanation is that the game is tied or you're down and it's the Super Bowl and you got to go all in or you're going to lose. But on paper, it looks like the same thing. You're doing a stupid play. Are you doing a stupid play because you're so far ahead? Or are you doing a stupid play because you got to go for it or you're going to lose? And that's kind of, so I look at it and I go, they're not, the elite are evil. They're demon worshippers. They're evil, but they're not stupid. So why are they doing this? Why are they rushing everything, or why does it seem like they're rushing everything? And I think it's because these aren't the actions of a confident regime, a global regime, a national regime, whatever you want to call it. These aren't the actions of a confident force. These are the actions of someone that on the surface are trying to act calm, cool, and collected, but on the inside is a raging dumpster fire. That's how and I could be wrong. It could be that they have more power than we've ever imagined, that they're going to squash us. Okay. But
That's
I'm leaning towards, maybe it's because I want it, but I'm leaning towards like they're mag dumping because they're scared.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But Darren and I do this roundup every week now. We've sort of started, instead of having just guests, we do our own kind of shows now too. And
Yeah.
so it's forced us to kind of go a little deeper into the Canadian stuff and to look at things a little bit deeper because as you know, probably as just an more of an interviewer, like you have to get sort of a surface level of like so many different topics and stuff. So now we're going a little bit deeper. So that's the big question we always bounce off each other and we have different views on it. Is it are they incompetent or is it really like intentional and they're very smart? And I kind of tend to think that they've harvested some of the best minds to do
Mm,
some of this stuff. I really do think there's a program where they harvest the smart people, and you don't see them in the front lines. They're just behind the scene, kind of like sort of writing the policies and pushing the policies, maybe, and sort of controlling things at a higher level. And Darren just thinks they're incompetent. He kind of sees it more from an Atlas Shrug point of view, where and I do see that at the lower level. There's an incompetence now. I think at the lower level, like we're lacking expertise. There's gonna be. It seems like there's gonna be a collapse right now. I mean the healthcare system, the policing in Canada, the industries, like it's it's gonna crash. I think. So it's just whether that, and we always talk about that, whether it's intentional or not, or whether it's incompetence, and that's another big question that I keep flip flopping back and forth on.
yeah, I'm with you in that I have to be aware of my own biases and that I want it to be incompetence, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You have to really, you got to really, I really try to put myself in the mindset of like, I don't know, my grandpa's brothers all fought in World War II, and I remember meeting them when I was really young. They're all dead now, but like even that I can't completely separate myself from. You have to
yeah.
look back to like, I don't know, the the Romans or like the Egyptian pharaohs. Completely remove yourself, zero emotion, and just look at history and go, what was this? What was that? Don't fall for the nationalism or the religiosity or none of it. Just really cold calculating look at it. So I try to, I'm like, look at it from the year 2500. Like what is happening right now. And it's still very difficult because as much as it seems like it's incompetence, I'm with you. They've harvested the best minds. There is a psychology to what they're doing. There are reasons behind this. The CIA is not just weapons and assassinations. A lot of their classified programs were psychological studies or psychiatric studies, where how do people respond to different stimuli. And why wouldn't that be classified? If we know they have classified, if we know something like, I don't know, the F-117 bomber in 1979, if we know that was classified because it was stealth and it could evade radar, or if we know that, Manhattan Project, the nuclear weapon, implosion, fission, if we know that was classified, if they have all these classified weapons, why would they not also have classified psychology? Why would you not have classified documents on this is how the brain works? Like,
Yeah,
why wouldn't they?
exactly.
The
And,
precedent
and
is
well,
there.
yeah, yeah, and we know about all the MK Ultra and all the stuff that's happened. I mean, that's all out there. And I've been reading, so I've been narrating this book called I mean, it's probably my favorite of all the books I've read. I'm just almost finished it now. It's called The Road to Serfdom. Unbelievable how it's talking about the socialist roots of Nazism really is one of the things, but it really talks about the collectivism versus individualism in a different way that I'm used to kind of hearing, and that makes me think that it's been a couple hundred years. Like it shows me that the stuff they're saying there is the stuff we're dealing with right now, like the end of truth, why the worst people get on top, security versus freedom. Like it's all these narratives that we're dealing with right now. It's like they're still just using the same tools as they've known since this is from the 30s and the 40s,
Hmm.
like 100, almost 100 years, 80, 90 years ago. So they've known this stuff for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do see this stuff, and yeah, it's very slow. It's boiling the frog, but no plan ever survives contact with the enemy. So part of me also looks at it and goes, it might not be a deviation in competence or intelligence. It might be that this is the end result of, the best laid out plan is now. I mean, you have to factor in that the more you're taking away from people, the less they have to fight or the less they have to live for. The less, right? If everything's hunky dory, you got a nice suburban house and a family and a good job, and they go, and you see some injustice in the government, what are the chances that you're going to be like, I'm going to throw this all away versus you're like, yeah, shut up. But as that thing, that nut, the carrot diminishes, you have less and less to fear, and you more and more start to hit a point of like vengefulness of like, dude, I don't even care. I'm gonna get back at him. Or it's like I have no what are you taking from me? Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have nothing, it means you have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And but then I go, they're not stupid. They had to have calculated that. They
Yeah.
know that the more you're pushing people to the edge, the more, I guess, feral they're going to get. I, but it also could be that the deep state we see now is like the trust fund kids, right? They don't have what dad had. They're not a Carnegie or a Rockefeller. They're the great grandson. They're getting coked up and smashing a Bentley into a school bus. Like they don't have that same, they're not in the boardroom in Lower Manhattan making moves. Like they're just they're cocky, ungrateful, zero work ethic loser. We might be seeing the trust fund deep state kids just fumble the ball. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I feel like they need a revolution. They need to be able to squash us so they can finally come into their full sort of totalitarian system. And I worry about I think they worry about the rogue. I call it kind of like the rogue billionaire. Like you're talking about these trust fund kids. Like I think as more people kind of climb up that ladder and become millionaires and billionaires, some of them are rogue. Some of them don't want to follow the script.
Hmm.
It's like a neo billionaire, right? Who
Hmm.
might be a bit rogue. So I think they have to. I think that's why things are accelerating. They have to shut things down here pretty quick, I think. But it's just how do they do it in a controlled demolition way without it collapsing and then, without it destroying their livelihoods too. there's a risk with revolutions that they go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm trying to look at it more as like it's like mutual assured destruction is like what ushered in the most peace, right? I mean, total deaths from war and then percentage of human population dying from war has been steadily declining since 1945,
Oh
right?
wow.
hmm You could say there's still people dying. The population's also about four times the size that it was in
Yeah,
1940.
yeah,
It is going down. Ironically, the most peaceful thing in human history has been the ability to vaporize everyone in 30 minutes. And it kind of makes sense, right? It's like, well, why does capitalism work? How come communism doesn't work? We're all in it together. And it's well, because people are very, very, myself included, are very, very selfish and don't want to look out for anyone else. And when you create a system based on you, hey, go get yours, ironically enough, it becomes the wealthiest nation in the history of man, right? So there is like a humorous irony, and world peace is ushered in by mutual assured destruction. Not for love of your neighbor, but for going, I don't want it to destroy me.
yeah,
In that light, we might have some sort of peace or cracking of the old guard, not because of some I idealistic we got to do the right thing, but you might have rogue billionaires coming to power going, I see my star in the ascendant. I want to run stuff for a while. So I'm going to put on the mask of I'm for the people. And but the reality is it's just it's like when the Soviet Union comes into Poland, it's like you liberated us from the Nazis, and it's like more like under new management. It might be that the new class of billionaires are just new management, and in 100 years they'll set up some totalitarian dictatorship, or they'll attempt to. But right now, our interests are aligning. They want to get rid of the people in charge
yeah,
because they want a shot at the throne.
yeah,
You and
yeah,
I, on a long enough timeline, we don't want them to be on the throne. But if you're trying to take out the World Economic Forum, kind of like pedophile transhumanists, hey, enemy of my enemy is my friend. So
yeah, yeah.
it might be that Elon's a demon, but we both want the same people dead. So, and legally, that's a metaphor, but like, you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And when the pendulum swings back, it's going to be a hard swing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
It's going to
kind of
be,
scary in a lot of ways,
it's
I
with,
think.
it's, I saw some post something the other day, and it was like, I do job fairs out of college. And they're like, I have never seen a group of 20-year-olds more split into are either they don't know what gender they are, or they look at Hitler and say he wasn't far enough right. Like it's starting to like I'm a conservative guy. I think it's probably going to blow past anything I'm comfortable with. It is,
Yeah.
and why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? You get out of World War II, Greatest Generation, Uncle Sam. 20 years later, why? Sure, acid helped facilitate it, but it was a pendulum swing that everyone had hair down to their feet. They're in Volkswagen buses going and doing all. Why wouldn't you? And then what happened 20 years after that? You have the 80s. You have the yuppies, right? Of course, it's going to swing and swing and swing. So right now, when you can't question anything, when you have to look at a guy in the women's bathroom and say, "Excuse me, ma'am," why wouldn't it swing the other way? And I think what you're, and I've said this before, and I think you're probably going to have it in the United States. I think you're going to have some sort of military coup. And a lot of people are going to either actively go along with it or passively go along with it. They're going to be like, hey, I'm not going to go partake in this, but I'm not going to raise my voice because the people in charge are evil. And the people performing the coup will wrap themselves in the flag and they'll say this is to save the republic. And some of them might be genuine. I think a lot of them are going because the real psychopaths at the very top, none of this means anything. There's no value. These are all convenient masks. So they're going to be
Yeah.
going right now. The commie, climate change, transgender, global homo mask is what they're using. It's like billionaires that own like sports teams. They don't actually care. They're not from the city. None of it matters to them, but they're going to use it if it is a convenient vessel. I think there's probably going to be some sort of coup in the United States, and it's going to be wrapped in the idea of saving the republic, closing the border. It's going to be very Donald Trump-esque. but at the core, it's not to actually do anything good. It's they're just next in line to the throne.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah.
going and the power the power is the means to an end. It's for power's sake.
And how's that going to look deporting, camp putting illegals in camps and deporting them or however that's going to go down? It's going to look very, very crazy
Uh-huh.
to a
And
large percentage of the population. So, you know, it's going to be interesting. So do you think all this is going to happen for the election then? Like what's because it is going to be like it has been somewhat calm. Well, I shouldn't even say it's been calm. I mean, look what Trump's been going through,
in the
but
United
what's,
States, it's been relatively calm.
yeah, but hmm,
And that's not good.
almost eerily calm,
Well, that's what I
Yeah.
mean. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
it's not good. I don't mean like everything's good. I mean like no, it's really, really quiet. Right.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, so I think it will. And I always look back to, is he a shill? Is he controlled opposition? I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, yeah,
But
me too. Yeah.
yeah, but well, not just him, but Alex Jones. I think he makes good points. I think he can also be controlled. I have no idea. So I try to examine it as
Yeah.
emotionless as I can.
Yeah.
When he went on Rogan, not episode 911, that was in 2016. But when he went on a second time, I just remember because I used to listen to it when I had like a power washing job. And he said, how do you get the left? How do you get the traditional left, the Timothy Leary, the turn on, tune in, drop out, the don't trust anyone over 30, the protest the Vietnam War, the free love people, the hate Ashbury? How do you get them to go against how do you get them to go against freedom of speech? That I disagree with what you say, but I'll fight for the right. I'll fight to the death for your right to say it. How do you get them to go against it? Orange Man. You have Orange Man, thrice married, womanizer, evil white guy. That's how you would get them to embrace an idea, censorship, that they would
Yeah.
never historically embrace. And I look at that and I go, that's a fair point. Now let's flip it. What are things that conservatives would never normally support? You normally wouldn't support, I don't know, a strong government force, but you have a lot of them saying back the blue. How would you get them to support a government crackdown of right now you've seen it in college campuses? Hit those hippies, hit those commies, this is great. And it's like you're cheering on the government boot. How do you get Republicans, how do you get conservatives to cheer on government force? And in the same way, how do you get liberals to embrace censorship, which is antithetical to everything they supposedly stand for? How would you get conservatives to, I don't know, cheer on the suspension of an election, to cheer on
Lockdowns during COVID.
how would you get them to do that? You would, I don't know, you would have them come in and say, we're fighting the globalists, the pro Chicoms that have taken over the government. And the cynical part of me goes, are these just two hands of like the same beast? They're just changing
Yeah.
left,
Yeah.
right, Trump,
Yeah.
Biden, Trump, all the
Oh yeah.
while
Yeah.
the hands are getting closer and closer around your neck.
Yeah. It's hard because Trump is so viscerally hated
Yeah,
by the people that we hate, right? Like by
yeah,
the
yeah,
people that have been
exactly,
lying to us,
exactly,
by the people
exactly.
that we've been lying to us for decades. So it's like, well, you've been lying to us for a long time, and we're on to you, and you hate this guy really bad. So it doesn't seem fake. It seems real.
It does seem to be true. It doesn't seem to be like Romney Obama.
No,
It seems
exactly.
well, he is for or even like McCain Obama. It's like that clip of it's like somebody in the crowd's like Obama's a bad man, and McCain's like he's not a bad man. He's a worthy opponent. That's how you know it's all BS. Versus when they're like Donald Trump's a rapist, send the
Yeah.
FBI to his like. Then I'm like, that's our guy. But I I don't know. They're also
And
they're not incompetent. They're not
either
stupid.
way, he shakes it up, and he's a bull in a china shop, and that's kind of it's hard not to see that as at least a good thing
Oh,
for
good.
now. I mean, it might be bad in the long run, but right now that's kind of what's needed. It feels like.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but isn't that like one of the things Yuri Bezmenov talked about though? Is like hypernormalization as you eventually make things go so crazy that people beg for some sort of order.
Yeah, some sort of normalcy. Yeah,
Would
order out of
Trump not
chaos.
be
Yeah,
the bull you
yeah,
want? How do you bring in the industrial vacuum into the China shop? Well, you gotta have a bull first.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that Trump is one of them and that they might just be looking at this like a target of opportunity.
Yeah, totally.
It's not that they, I don't know, cause every hurricane, although I would imagine weather modification is real. It can just be, you don't need to go in like they planned Hurricane Katrina. It could just very simply be Hurricane Katrina happened, then when how can we capitalize? Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
all have to be some, you know, nine-dimensional chess. Sometimes it can just be look at an opportunity and use it.
My friend Steve Poikinen, one of our podcast buddies for AM Wake Up, he does a daily AM Wake Up show, and his word for it is controlled opportunity, or controlled opportunism. So it's not necessarily like controlled opposition; it's just a controlled opportunity. You know, it's
Controlled
people in the
opportunity.
power, like just making use of that opportunity. Right now, kind of
Mm.
makes sense to me. I have a hard time with the controlled opposition thing. Like it seems very risky a lot of times
Yeah. It seems very,
that you're waking up too many people. Like if that's controlled op, I can't see it being any worse without a controlled op. Like
yeah.
you know, like that's where I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, it's like using a puppet to control a puppet to control. It's like being a ventriloquist, like multiple levels. Like, yeah, man, the one at the and if you know if you're controlled op, you know, you might be. Let's say I'm controlled op, and you get propped up, and you start getting a following. You might at a certain point just be like, yeah, I'm not listening to him anymore. I've got a
Yeah,
platform.
yeah, exactly. Or you've gathered so many people that it's a real revolution, regardless of whether you're leading it or not. Like you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
or
yeah,
you're
yeah,
waking so many people up that causes a whole bunch of downstream risks. You would think we're
yeah.
waking up
Unintended
millions of people, like
consequences.
whether it's like Tate or Jones or RFK Jr. I mean, or Del Bigtree. I mean, these are all people that have been called controlled op, but yet there's quite a large, you know, following of freedom loving people that are waking up. So yeah,
It's like a controlled burn in a forest. Like, yeah, you could do it intentionally, but I mean, come on. You also might burn down the forest, right?
like in Canada.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
happened. Their controlled
Exactly.
burns got out of control. I mean, they couldn't even do it in Canada. They couldn't even do the proper controlled burns.
Yeah, and it's also it seems like there might be some sort of like inertia. It's like you know, it's like the United States always preparing for the last war. So
Yeah.
after World War II, we're preparing for World War II, and then Vietnam happens. And after Vietnam happens, we're preparing for something like Vietnam, and then War on Terror happens. And it's
Ah,
we're
right.
always preparing for something like we're going up against Iraq with a bunch of weapons that we were using for the Soviets. And it's like we don't need zero radar cross section stealth bombers at 90,000 feet. We're fighting guys in tents, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like we're geared to fight guys in tents, and it's like, well, no, now you're gonna fight China. So now you need the so we're always doing it in reverse. So it might stand to reason that they're using a bunch of things from a playbook that might have worked in like the 40s, not just militarily, but it might have
Psychologically.
well, it might have worked in a time where it's like you had three TV stations,
Yeah.
you know? Controlled op worked a lot better when it was a radio station.
Right. Exactly.
Were they necessarily calculating in, you know, we all
Human
have a
consciousness. Human.
we've all got microphones and cameras, and it's like so they might now be preparing for something. They might now be preparing for, you know, the war when everyone has an iPhone. But we're 20 years into the iPhone. And it's like, well, now VR is a thing. They were preparing to clamp down YouTube, and then Rumble happened. Right? They moved so far ahead that whatever you want, Rumble, BitChute, Brighteon, whoever, they clamp down on Twitter, you have Getter, Gab, and they have all these things that I don't believe that they're that competent.
Yeah, yeah, and also that I don't think they take into account human consciousness and the wild card that is humanity itself.
Yeah.
There's something about our collective consciousness that they can't really, even though they've studied psychology for decades and decades. I really don't think they have a handle on the spiritual aspect of humanity.
No. And it's if they did, it's like you said, you know, a controlled op, it can be so detrimental that you might just go, why have the controlled op at all? It's the
Exactly.
same
Just
thing. It's like,
let people fumble around and find their own crazy leaders. That would
yeah,
be almost better. Just
and then
monitor
quash
that. Then
them. Yeah,
like
and then just quash them. And it's like, to say that like they've calculated all of this and they know every little
Yeah,
thing in human psych, it's like, well, if they're that omnipotent, what have they been waiting for? How come Graham
exactly.
and I are still allowed to talk? How come you and I haven't
Exactly,
been
exactly,
vaporized by heat-seeking missiles yesterday?
exactly.
You know, there is America's unst it's like the whole you're gonna fight the government. They have tanks and F-16s and satellites, and all you have is a gun. And be like, yeah, just like Afghanis, Vietnamese, and Koreans. All those wars we won really well.
Yeah, it makes you whether things get so big. I mean, even the Canadian government is so incompetent, and it gets getting so big, and I wonder how is the American government even functioning? Because as these things get so huge, it's just like a behemoth that you can't
30
even move, you
arms
can't
and
even adjust to, you can't even
have you ever played like I don't know, like a command and conquer game or like a any
no,
game where you sort of like top that like you control. Okay, so like as opposed to like a normal shooter where you just checking your corners and maybe you have a teammate and you guys are communicating. If you ever play a game where it's like you're selecting and controlling multiple tanks, I can't do that. And if I do it, a shooter I can play with a friend and like if you and I could have this conversation while we're just kind of mindlessly shooting. Whenever I'd play a game where it's like I have to control multiple aircraft carrier groups, I always quit because it's so mentally taxing. You have to cover this and that and that. I'm like, well, maybe if I had other friends play with me, but now we're all communicating, it gets so exponentially
exactly.
difficult that I always end up rage quitting or I just fire all the nukes.
Yeah,
Now imagine you're trying to do that like surgically and stop every little thing. And I don't think you can, but you also don't ever want to show that you can't because power comes from the perception of power. So they're never going to say, man, we do not have a handle on this thing.
yeah, yeah.
That it's going to be a very strong, like we're doing this now and we're fighting climate change. You're not seeing like the meetings in the Oval Office where it's like everyone's heads on fire.
And they're
They're
talking about the pole shift that's going to happen in
like,
2040,
yeah,
and how we built
exactly.
the underground bunkers in the wrong place. Like we've fucking built them in the wrong place. Like millions of acres of bunkers in the wrong place. Like
Yeah, and it is like I don't know. I always look back at like the fall of the Third Reich and like what we now know about it. But at the time, I mean, you had guys who were burying blueprints and rocket documents in 1943 because they looked at that as their get out of jail card for when the Soviets or the Americans eventually captured them. They were burying that, and then the same afternoon going to a meeting with Hitler and talking about the Thousand-Year Reich. We now know that as it fell apart, you had all these guys that were like, yeah, actually, no, I kind of had a feeling this thing was going to go downhill. Here are my blueprints. Can you bring me back to the US? And it's like, yeah, sure. But at the time, I mean, up until like the final day, it was like the Third Reich will last forever. We now know that it had been falling apart for years. And the analogy I always use is it's like a bonfire. You have a bunch of logs and sticks on it, and it's burning and burning and burning, and it doesn't really look like it's changing at all. And then at one moment, all of a sudden, it all collapses and a bunch of coals and sparks go flying. It's because it had been rotting from the inside. You just don't see it to the very end. It doesn't mean that all the damage happened at the very end. It was
yeah,
happening over hours, but it fell in 1 second. Who knows what is going on in bunkers in intelligence agencies headquarters right now, where it's just like, all right, so I put these things away. So eventually, if there is a coup, maybe I can avoid a treasonous execution. And then they'll come out in the same day and put on their lapel and be like, the United States government is like, they're never going to show it. They're not going to show weakness, right? So I don't know. That's kind of
no,
like
no,
my
yeah, I
optimism.
agree with you. You're seeing it with COVID right now too. They cannot back off of the narrative that this is safe and effective, and you should still be going to get your boosters. I mean, they can't do it in Canada. There's paid social media doctors that are still pushing this. They're still pushing that these things are safe and effective. They're demonizing anybody that questions the narrative. I mean, it's insanity. They cannot back off. They have to show that like you said, because if they admitted that, and I think that's what's happening with Trump too, is he won't back off. That's my one thing that bugs me about him is he just will not. Like it's like, dude, you're just looking like an idiot when you won't admit that warp speed was a disaster.
Let's get into that then, because that is the biggest like
It's the
fly
biggest
in the
elephant in the room,
it's the
really.
biggest fly in the ointment where you're like, all right, because you and I, it's like right when it's like when he was running. I just remember seeing it. I was like, the Bushes and the Clintons hate him. The Republicans, Democrats hate him. Well, if everyone hates him, I'm like, then and they all hate me and I hate them. Well, then the enemy might that was my logic. And like when I was 26, I was like, everyone hates him. That means he's our guy. And
Yes.
like you said, it does seem real. It doesn't seem like a like an act. It
Look
seemed,
it
I
up.
mean, they
Yeah.
sent the FBI to his property, right? You know what I mean? Like it is real. The thing though that like I can't square away. It's like I'm making the bed and like a corner keeps popping up. It's so obvious that this jab is killing people. At best, it's killing people. At worst, it's complete total and induced infertilization and
Herbal
depopulation.
cancers. Yeah.
Or yeah, or yeah, it doesn't have to be either or. And he's still, I mean, as of like I think yesterday,
Oh,
he like tweeted, he was like, the vax is like that's the Trump vax. And some people are like, well, he has to. I'm like, no, no, no. Why is he saying this? Because if it really is what we think it is, depopulation, then he would be objectively worse than everyone that we thought we hated, right? War on terror is
yep.
bad. That's a million people dead.
Yeah.
If this is what we think it is, that's billions of people dead.
Yeah.
What is that? What are
It's
your thoughts on this?
well, I mean, it's hard not to think that the narrative is flipping. I mean, it started with, sorry, it didn't start with, but it's at the point now where some of the mainstream media is coming around in the States anyways. And I guess even in Canada a little bit. But what if the narrative flips so much that Trump does get blamed on it? Like he's still now taking responsibility for that. And the narrative flips, the Overton window flips so much that people, because it really is downstream of culture. The politics is downstream of culture. Like, and especially in Calgary, or sorry, in Canada, when you see the politicians, they really do wait for the groundswell to happen before they change views. Like they really will not go against. Um, I guess that's probably everywhere, but it just feels obvious to me in Canada. So what if that's the thing, that the narrative flips so hard coming up, like what are we, May, June, July? I mean, another couple months and it flips so bad that Trump just like he gets completely blamed for the whole thing, and that's how they destroy the upcoming election. Basically, it's like their last card. I mean, there's that. So that's, and then the other thing is, so if that doesn't happen, would he get, my hope would be, my faint hope clause is that he gets into power, he gets in there, and then he acknowledges it, because it
That's
doesn't
bad.
matter at that point. And then he just crucifies global pharma, because he could have done that. And this is super like, wishful thinking, but he had an opportunity. I mean, have you seen that clip that was going around? It is almost like the ultimate couple seconds where the narrative got solidified in the States. Trump got distracted when he was on stage, when Fauci was just yip yapping about how they're going to lock everybody down, and somebody distracted Trump right at the moment where Fauci said that, and Trump missed what Fauci said.
I haven't seen that.
It's worth watching just for the hell of it,
Okay.
because I remembered when I saw that clip going around. I think it was probably Paul Alexander, the doctor, that was
Yeah, I've
sending the
had it. Yeah,
clip around a little
yeah, I've
little
had
while
him on.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because I remembered it happening at the time, and I was thinking, whoa, 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 like, what are you doing? You just missed what Fauci said, that he's locking everything down. Like, and Trump was distracted. So, anyways, where was I going with that? That my hope would be that he would just, because there was a time when he could have saved the world from that. He could have just said, COVID is bullshit. Like, we're not going to fall for this. We're getting out of the WHO. We're doing all that. I know it would have been a difficult path, but there was a time when he could do that. So my hope would be that he would get into power and then do it.
I haven't seen that clip, but
You think he would? I mean, because I don't think he could get into power. Well, maybe he could, but I don't think it would be easy for him to do it now, because he still
no, it
does have
wouldn't.
a large base that is still sort of like buying into pharma. I mean, the whole system is so entrenched. The whole it's almost as bad as the climate change thing. It's so entrenched in Canada. The medical system is so deeply entrenched.
It might be. Yeah, I mean, it might be that, if he goes along with it, then they won't attack him for it, right?
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? Come out and say no, the vax is dangerous, right? So that is one point where you go, yeah, maybe this is the tactical move to be like, it's the best thing ever. What are they gonna do? Be like, no, it's killing kids. Like, no, 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 because they're the ones that rolled it out. He would have to get in and do something, but and it's like that's then I always get like, yeah, I get tied up in my own logic because I'm like, we're talking about all this stuff about like if he gets to power, and it's like, well, what about when he was in power? Like he was the president, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, then how did he get in the first place at all? And that makes me think that they're not as omnipotent as possible that he got in, or that he has some very powerful backers, either private or within the government, that facilitated his. Because he did get in, like he
It
did.
seemed like a mistake, though. It seemed
It
like
did
they
no, it did, it
underrated.
did.
It seemed like they underrated him, and that the polling system is so lopsided, anyways. The media is so liberally lopsided, anyways, that he snuck in, and that's why 2020 had to be a complete, like, pull
Blatant.
out all the stops, do everything we can to cheat our way out of this. I mean, it wasn't just one big thing; it was like a
It
million
was
little
every
things,
little tactic.
every single
It
little
was
tactic
it
to
was
make sure he
flip it
couldn't
up.
get
It
in.
was the fake ballots. It was
I mean,
the 4 a.m.
it's
ballots. It was
it's
the
hard to
electronic. It
believe,
was the law. It was they used everything. Yeah,
and it's hard to believe that he didn't. And this is another thing that I question him on.
that he
You
didn't
and
know
your
it was
team
coming.
didn't know this
You
was
guys
happening,
didn't.
and you.
If it was the most extensive fraud system in history, you're telling me the NSA didn't ping it somewhere, or the DIA? Okay, maybe the CIA is compromised with that. Okay, you didn't say one of the other 17 intelligence agencies. I mean, he created the 18th intelligence agencies, the Space Force,
Space Force.
the Delta subdivision. Every military apparatus has their own intelligence division. The DIA is the Defense Intelligence Agency. You had all. You're saying that you didn't ping it. You didn't. And then I go, well, did he? Did he? And then everyone's like, well, the ballots had watermarks, and I'm like, well, but that's come and gone now. It's been 4 years. Like, what happened? But you telling me he didn't know it was happening?
Yeah.
So I don't. None of the logic really pans out. He doesn't seem to be one of them.
And
But
then
it's
you see that big Arizona one. I saw that
Maricopa.
2 hour video of the Arizona analysis of it, and I mean, it's a complete disaster. And whatever happens with that, like, how can that be allowed? How can
Eh,
the evidence come out that it was a complete disaster and nothing happens? It's unbelievable. And then they actually, so even after that, Kerry Lake loses, and it's even after all that stuff has been shown,
Yeah.
somehow
It
the
happens again
system.
in
I mean,
2022. That like all the machines go down like the day of. Like,
that's like crazy.
so one way
So
I look at it is like, let's say, I don't know, again, let's just look at like naked power, like drop ideology, remove emotion from the people that just want power. If you're, I don't know, if you're an intelligence agency, and let's say just hypothetically you find out that, I don't know, a top senator or a top or the vice president is taking bribes from China or whatever, Brazil. You can go in and be like, here are all the documents, here are all the transcripts, here's like the files, picked up by satellites and wiretaps and blah blah blah. You're convicted of treason, you're going to be hung till dead. Okay, sure. Or in the same way that if you're China and let's say you're blackmailing Senator Graham, right? You could blackmail the blackmailed. You could go, all right, so I have this thing that says that you've been taking money from China under the US code, blah, blah, blah. You can be executed. Or now you can do what I say. And I'm just as corrupt as China. But I'm American. Now I'm going, you're gonna get this bill pushed through. Now you're controlled because I know you're controlled. So let's say, I don't know, let's say there is evidence of all the stolen election. It might be that the intelligence apparatus is going, yeah, now we control the people in office. We
yeah.
know that you stole hung
Oh,
hung
that's
by the neck,
interesting.
hung by the neck till you're dead. And they're going,
Oh,
I
that's
thought
super
you might
interesting.
have
Yeah.
Biden and team going, wait, to the CIA, like I thought you guys were helping us. I thought we were getting rid of Orange Man. It was like, I don't know, man, you broke the law. And it's like, you helped us. And it's like, I have all these documents that said that you stole it at 4 a.m. You're not going to do what I say. We're going to war with Ukraine. Like,
Right,
why
right. That's
wouldn't, if it
super
is the,
interesting. Yeah.
if it is the raw evil power that we're hypothesizing, then they're also going to stab each other in the backs. It's like, why wouldn't they? They're
Yeah.
demons.
Yeah.
I don't know. Which then
Yeah.
also brings up an interesting. That means that like the dossier exists somewhere. That means like the air-gapped hard drive exists somewhere. That is the golden nugget of the blackmail. Theoretically, then a good guy, a white hat, could get access to it because it does exist somewhere, right? So I don't know. The key to the path to liberation, to freedom, to justice does technically still exist somewhere in some hard drive in some bunker somewhere.
Yeah.
That would be
But
more valuable than a nuke.
yeah, but we can't rely on anybody to come and save us. I mean, this is the
No, no, no,
lesson
no,
that
no.
we
I'm not
should have
saying
learned too.
yeah.
For no, no, no. But this is where people are gonna go with it, right? Like it's
Yeah. Trust the
it's
plan. Yeah, like
trust the
well,
plan kind of thing. Like
yeah, well, that's passivity. Well, and then
yeah,
I look at
it's
something like that. I look at something like QAnon, right? Or on the face value, you go, yeah, that's a pacification program, right? That's right. The weird thing about that though is that kind of like what you said earlier about like controlled opposition. Like, wouldn't it be better to just not have the controlled opposition if you're in power? The Q thing, sure, we can laugh at it and scoff at it, but Hillary Clinton was killed 10 years ago. It's a robot now. It's like, all right, shut up. But you also have such an inordinate number of like boomers who are now like in Facebook groups talking about the
oh
creation of
yeah,
the
dude.
Federal Reserve
Oh yeah,
and Eisenhower.
pedophilia,
And you're going,
pedophilia. Yeah,
that can't be conducive to the people in power to have Marge in Montana being like, you know, taxation's theft. Like
yeah. Oh
5 years
yeah,
ago, she was like, the Republicans are gonna take, and now they're talking, now they're talking about like, like they're like, what are special access programs? Did something land at Roswell? Like, yeah,
yeah.
like that can't be good, right? So then
Maybe,
what is that? I mean, I
maybe
don't
it can be. I mean, maybe it's just again like confuse people so much they don't know what to believe. I mean,
complete hyper normalization, completely muddying the water. I'm with
yeah.
you, man. I don't.
And then they just like resort to following the narrative because you don't know what to believe. I mean, I believe me, I totally agree with your example. My mom and I know a bunch of those exact people that
Yeah,
they're like,
dude, my entire sorry, my fucking necklace is falling off. My entire like yeah, no, like my entire extended family, right? Like my mom and dad are more conservative leaning. Like I always grew up like them watching Fox News. I go visit them now, and it's not even like I push them to do this. Like on their own,
yeah,
my aunts and uncles, all these just classically they're Republican people. They don't call it the news anymore. They're like, so what's the propaganda saying? And I'm like, who are you? And like, what have you done with my parents? Like, what is going on? Like, oh, this is all just money and power. Like, no
see
one
that
believes
this is the risk that I is exactly the thing you're talking about, where the controlled op has this inherent risk to
it's
it.
its
So
own
it
legs.
sounds like what's his name now, who wrote the conspiracy paper, Cass Sunstein wrote that conspiracy paper from Harvard in 2009 when Obama came into power. I narrated the thing for we have it on our YouTube channel, I think, or on our podcast as well. But it talks about how the government should deal with these conspiracies, right? And it talks about how they should either deny. What do you do? Do you deny them? Do you inject your own theories into it, create your own conspiracies, or do you monitor the ones that are there and do nothing and just let it go? And then he's part of this nudge unit. It does feel like to me that this is now, whether it's working or not, I don't know. I think there's a risk that it's backfired, but that they started to do this intentionally to inject these things and to allow these things to proliferate on the web. I mean, now it's like Darren and I talk about it all the time too, because it's like this crazy stuff happens now where everybody just starts forwarding stuff and they believe it all right off the bat, right? Even like just for example with the solar flares recently and HARP, like Darren and I both end up trying to go to the source to find out whether HARP really did do testing that weekend, and you can't find it.
Mm.
And somebody says they sent a letter, and then somebody made a graphic or was showing a graphic that looks very similar to the ones on the website, but it's like, but it just gets forwarded around, just like
Yeah.
there's so many
Oh,
new
dude, I'm
conspiracy theorists now that just believe all this stuff that's thrown at them. They don't
Yeah.
really realize how deep and how viral, how how fake virality is happening everywhere.
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
intentional virality. You just got to
Yeah.
be careful of everything. Like I think you and I are very similar in that way. It seems like we're both very like not attaching ourselves to things and emotionally not attaching ourselves to things, whether it's like conspiracy or not, or whether it's yeah, it's just very just watching it kind of happen, observing without attachment kind of seems to be what we have to do now.
It's the most difficult thing. Yeah. And then you have people who, right? It's like breaking the seal, or it's like breaking the dam. Like they found out, I don't know, like the election was stolen. And it's just, I'm 33. I've been reading about conspiracies since I was like 10. Like I've developed like a little tolerance to it. I've like a little more. I'm like, all right, let's not jump in immediately.
Yeah,
But then
yeah,
you have people who like their whole life it was like the Republicans and the Democrats and Uncle Sam, and then they found out that COVID was a hoax, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, Hillary Clinton's a reptile, and Chuck Schumer is actually from like Zeta Reticuli. And it's like, no, no, wait, no, wait, relax, relax, relax. No, it's like you have the right general energy. Like, be skeptical. And they're like, the reason we're in Ukraine is because there's a Stargate there. And it's like, no, no, wait, no, no, stop it. And it's like they're brand new to it, right? It's
yeah.
it's your brand. It's like they're going through puberty or something. Like they don't know what's real. They thought girls were gross a year ago, and now they love them. And it's like you don't know what's real, and it's I don't know, but maybe this is just like the growing pains of like a slowly awakening
Oh yeah,
populace.
yeah,
Maybe I don't. Maybe
yeah.
this. Maybe we'll look back with the same way you look back at yourself when you're 16. You're like, oh God, that's so
You're like,
cringy.
what?
Maybe we'll look back in 50 years and be like, it was weird. We were breaking free from like the demonic elite, and it was so cringy. And we've
Yeah,
matured a little bit now. We have
yeah,
like free
yeah,
energy, and
yeah.
we ended the depopulation. That was so cringy though. Like, don't show me those pictures. Oh, that's so weird. Like, it might be that. It might be that. I also just think of like, I don't know. I think of like novelty. It's like the most expected, the most like low energy, most probable thing is that an advanced society discovers technology, and then a few demons at the helm control it to enslave everyone. Like that's no surprise. To me, aside from it being like an objectively good thing to not have tyranny, to not have a dystopia, it's also like if you're God or if you're running a simulation, it's the most novel outcome is to see it not descend into that. So regardless of good versus bad, the most if you're the Godhead watching this, you be like, yeah, I've seen this movie a million times. It falls in a 1984, and then it's over. You might be watching this going like, how would it work? How would like one spark evade a rainstorm and land in a forest and then light the planet on fire? It might be a curiosity more than anything. You might have watched the simulation a million times. You're like, yeah, it's 1984, and then it's dystopian, and they depopulate everyone and merge with machines. I get it. I've seen this ending, right? It's like the cheesy, the quarterback, the guy gets the girl and it's happily ever after. You might want to see just like you might want to see an interesting ending. And so then it's like if this is like a simulation, and you might just want to see how it works.
Yeah.
I just want to see it get better for the sake of entertainment.
Before the cyclical getting wiped off the face of the earth by the
Yeah,
asteroid
it,
comes. I mean,
it,
honestly, every I think we get the slate wiped clean
it's every like fifty
every
thousand years, whatever it is,
12,000
36.
years or
Yeah,
whatever it
yeah,
is. I
12.
mean,
Yeah,
and that time frame for me now, I'm like, maybe it's not even 12,000 years. Maybe it's even just all compressed sooner. I mean, there's so many interesting conspiracies about
that's what I'm
kind of
saying.
like
Is like,
Tartarian history and like
yeah,
where are we at?
and
I
it's
mean,
like,
maybe it's going to happen sooner, and they know it's going to happen, and they're trying to sort of rushing. Part of me thinks that's why they're just taking so much money from us is because they can, but they know they need to before the whole thing gets wiped clean.
yeah, and like the idea is, I don't know, it's like an alien race or God. Like, no, we can't get involved. Like, it's free will.
Yeah,
Okay, sure, I get that. But if they've watched this simulation pan out 100 trillion times, at what point are they like, I kind of just want to see it go the other way?
Yeah.
I've seen this ending so many times. I don't want to watch this movie. Like, I'm going to the bathroom. Oh, you're gonna miss it. No, I've seen it. I don't
Yeah, no, but
care.
I don't think it can ever go to that. I don't think it can ever go to totalitarianism like that. I just don't think it's possible with people, with humanity. Like it I think it'll always be, it could always be tried. Like maybe there's some inherent in
Yeah,
in to control it, to try, but especially after reading this like serfdom book, like he's got some really interesting quotes on how this socialism just cannot work. Like it causes a whole bunch, and I'm not really trying to even get political really,
yeah. I
because
don't
like
care.
I
I don't
used to
care.
be a socialist when I was younger, like or at least like thinking in that way more so, right? But it's just, he does bring up some really good instances on how it just doesn't work, like how it just will not work. So I don't think that, I don't think it's going to go that way. I think it'll, I think I think it's whether we will become sort of free, or whether society will not collapse prior. Like I think the collapse of society is more inevitable than 1984.
Mm. Yeah, it
That's
does
probably
kind
the
of
way I
seem
would
like
put it.
it might be something like, as you approach the speed of light, mass increases exponentially and it requires exponentially more energy to the point where it's like it requires so much to push it just 1% forward. The diminishing returns are just like indescribable. It might be that you can get to like 90% tyranny, but
Yeah.
like the
Well, I
last
don't know.
10% or whatever the number,
80, maybe it's
what,
the 80/20 rule or something, you know? I don't
whatever
know.
the number is, but it does seem like you can never get to even bleach, it's like 99.9. They never say
Yeah.
100. It
Yeah,
might be
exactly.
it might be that like maybe we're just reaching this weird equilibrium where it's like
Yeah.
they're still gonna have like a lockdown. Not mean I don't mean COVID. I mean like locking down just control, but they can't quash every little thing because as
Yeah.
they use technology to advance that technology that leaks to the private sector, and you and I get it. And now they're like, we've clamped down on all rotary phones, and it's like, yeah, but the iPhone's a thing now, and it's like, oh crap, like, right? It might just be that we're reaching this weird equilibrium of like stalemate, like almost like a
Yeah.
World War I stalemate, where it's like,
Or I mean, dude, we're so fragile in the West. I mean, if one little EMP and we're toast. I mean, you
yeah,
know, honestly, like well, there's no infrastructure that's strong enough in where we are. I mean, we'd have to be in the South America or Africa or somewhere to survive this. I
that's a
mean,
that's a good point. And it's like, well, okay, like buried, Faraday hardened military outposts could survive, sure, but they don't want us to not have phones because that's how they extend their power, is they're able to censor and
yeah.
propagandize. If none of us have phones, you can't come out and say like, you can't do a new psyop if
No,
everyone is
imagine a new
if everyone's on a farm churning butter.
caveman psyops. I know
Yeah, what you're gonna
it's
have
not going to
government
work.
officials going from town to town saying, "All
Yeah,
right, we're for trans people now." You're like just like plowing the field. You're like, "Who are you?" Like you do, right? And it's you do need like you need phones. You need everyone plugged in to be like,
exactly.
"This is the new story." Imagine,
Yeah,
yeah, imagine going out to like Papua New Guinea and being like, "Are you like trans friendly?" They're like, "What?" Like, are you with the UN? Do you have
we need your
iodine tabs? What are
we
you
need your
doing?
money for carbon. We
Yeah,
need your money to save the earth.
and they're like, "What is money? What is
Yeah,
the earth?" Like they
yeah,
don't, so it is
yeah. The
weird thing where
climate
it's
is
yeah, like the climate, they're like the gods, the rain gods will take care of us. And it's like,
yeah,
no, you need phones so we could propaganda. And then you give them phones and then they start doing their own research and building podcasts. And you're like, well, don't do that either. It does kind of
yeah.
seem like maybe it's not even 80/20. Maybe it's like 70/30.
50/50, or
Yeah,
maybe
or
it's a
something.
50. Maybe it's just the, yeah, like the yin and yang type thing. Maybe it's
It
just
really
that it's that
it might just be balanced. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and it might also be it's like the inverse is true. You also can't have like total anarchy and freedom. It's
Right,
like
right.
people will always be able to create little coalitions and tribes, and
Yeah.
it's like, well, no,
Or
we're all free, and it's like,
or
no,
there's
no, no.
always a percentage of people that just want to, they
They
don't
want a
want to be
leader.
free.
Well, they want a leader,
Their freedom to them is like being able to be
not
told
being
what to
free.
do.
They
Yeah.
want that.
They want to be told what to do. That
Like,
makes me feel free. Like I don't have any stress, any worry. Just tell me what to do and I'll do it.
and who are you
That's
to tell them
freedom to me.
and who are
Yeah,
you to, and if you're for freedom, who are you to tell them that that's
exactly.
not
And
freedom?
that's the crux of
It's
it. Is
like,
like,
girl, you should be a feminist, and it's like, I know a lot of girls who are like, no, I just kind of like a strong male figure, and it's like, well, don't do that. And it's like, well, no, if you are for freedom, then she's free to not be free.
yeah,
I'm I'm more of like a hard-headed guy. I have friends that have wives that just completely run their lives, and I'm always like, what are you doing? But like the more I know them, I'm like, no, this is his ideal situation. And who am I to say don't do that?
right, exactly.
It is. So it's like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
also can't have total like liberation.
And that's why the freedom. That's why we can never. That's why the struggle is so tough for us because we don't want to impose stuff on the other side, right? Even though they're
Yeah.
trying to impose it on us, like it's a constant battle between like, well, I don't want to tell you what to do. So,
Yeah.
but but as long as I don't have to defend myself, I don't want to
Yeah.
get in your business. I don't want to know what you're doing. So,
That's a good point.
yeah. And then they're just like okay with just telling us what to do, but we're like, no, 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 don't tell me what to do. But then you're always on the defensive, I guess. It's kind of weird because you don't want to play offense because offense is against freedom in a
It's
way.
against what you're for.
Yeah. So we're
So
constantly playing defense.
so it might just be that like
That's inherent. That's an
like
inherent
human
struggle.
civilization is just like an old married couple. We're just like
Yeah. It's
we're just
just
bickering to the end. They want tyranny and I don't. And at the end of the day, it's like, they're comfortable. It's like the
speaking of free energy, I want to get a chance to plug something.
oh yeah, no,
Um,
I made the title
oh, did you?
the link you sent me, the cosmic.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Cosmic Summit. Yeah,
yeah, but we
yeah.
haven't touched it. We haven't touched it. I made the
Yeah,
thumbnail
which
that.
is okay, which is cool. I mean, I'm not in any rush, but I mean, there are things changing too. Like these are some of the wild cards that are happening, right? I don't know. Have you ever heard of Malcolm Bendall or that technology that Randall Carlson talked about on Joe Rogan
Oh
that kind
yeah,
of
no, I
slipped
have.
and that
Yeah.
whole controversy with Joe Rogan and all that? Well, that's still been going on in the background.
Okay.
So that guy's going to be at Cosmic Summit. Actually, Randall's going to be there. Scott Wolter, Praveen Mohan, Ben Van Kirkwick, Johanna James, Robert Schock, Luke Caverns. Like it's a pretty cool conference in general. I'm going to go to. I think we're sort of pseudo sponsoring it. I mean, our graphics are on the website. We're not getting paid for it, but
Yeah.
we do have a coupon code for people CS 5184 to get a ticket. It's like 15% off. But I mean, there's a classroom on the third day where like you can go listen to Randall Carlson teaches sacred geometry and stuff like that, or also Malcolm Bendall and his sort of like clean technology that's based on ancient wisdom and sacred geometry. So, I mean, I'll just read something from the thing here. I mean,
Sure.
and I've talked to Malcolm personally before and Randall about it. Like, there's it's still controversial, of course, because this will always be until it becomes sort of mainstream. But um, I kind of think he's onto something, and I kind of trust it. I've seen videos of this technology working and then measuring the exhaust from it, and it seems to be basically transmuting the molecules. So I'll read here something. Yeah, I'll read something from the website here. So this is the thunderstorm generator and Professor Malcolm Bendall. It took the internet by storm. Now the plasmoid-enabled ball lightning-based cold fusion thunderstorm generator will be demonstrated, tested, lectured, and discussed with the public in person at the Cosmic Summit 2024. So carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and other pollutants in the exhaust of an internal combustion engine are claimed to be transmuted to clean, healthy atmospheric oxygen. And I like friends of mine have huffed from the exhaust of a gas generator after this thing's been in place. So, um, I can read. Tasmanian reinventor Malcolm Bendall will conduct a weekend of demos, tests, and talks, and then a Monday long deep dive into his work, including an unplugged Ask Me Anything two independent investigators. So if you're into this kind of cold fusion stuff, cold fusion researcher Mr. Bob Greenier of YouTube's Martin Fleischmann Memorial Project,
Contemplation.
and
Yeah.
Australian mathematician Mr. Jordan Collin of Alchemical Science are being flown in to lecture on their physical, mathematical, and spiritual interpretation of what on earth is going on. He intends to reveal all the information he has shared on the unpublished 2023 Joe Rogan podcast, The Astonishing But Before Its Time No Show Joe Show. Witness the appearance of Bendel in 2024 with all the functioning machines and independent analysis. See for yourself what they don't want you to know. Record it for yourself and ask questions. Randall will be on hand too. So, and then they go into more of the what happened with Bendel and Joe and stuff like that. So it's been installed on a whole bunch of generators. I mean, it does seem to be working. Unfortunately, with these sort of creative types of people, like, it's hard to get the mainstream scientists on board. He's kind of just doing it in his own way.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been a lot of tests and recorded results and stuff like that, and it does seem to be working. I don't think it's going to be as applicable to car engines right away. I mean, I think people were picturing like cars driving around with this, but I think because of the variable pressure of acceleration and stuff, I think it has to be re-engineered for that. But putting it on a stable generator seems to be like the ideal sort of
Mhm.
application for it.
What happened with, because I mean, I years ago before I ever watched the podcast, I remember watching Carlson and Hancock and all that, and I kind of tangentially somehow in the background know about uh some controversy with, yeah, Carlson and wrote what all happened. There's an unpublished show.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
so Randall took this guy onto Joe Rogan, and I'm pretty sure I can say all this, and I'm pretty sure that I'll just say what I think, my
Sure.
interpretation of what happened. I mean, I've talked to Randall about it too, but um, so Malcolm they had a whole presentation of the science of this thing, right? This is how this works. Now it's a pretty esoteric presentation. Like he Malcolm's got this one world. He's got a like also like kind of a theory of everything in a way, right? Which is super fascinating. Like he's got time included with some of the dimensions of the planets. Like it's like very Randall-esque, like sacred geometry, but he's included everything, including time and all this, and it fits in with some of the ancient Vedic stuff, like the Vajra. So
Hmm.
there's a huge, deep spiritual component too, and he's kind of like almost like he's had almost like divine intervention on this, which is so the whole genesis of it for somebody like me who's interested in all of this kind of stuff, maybe probably for you yourself too. It's like it's almost like the ultimate genesis to a technology that will change the world. When
Mm.
I'd rather have that from than coming from some like $5 billion, you know, uh,
From a
massive sort of
or
particle accelerator
from
that
a
finally reaches
from a
over
DARPA
unity.
press conference. You're like,
You're like, okay, really? This is like very rogue in a good
mm,
way. So Rogan, I mean, Malcolm's had some controversies in the past, and he's had a whole book written about it, a fiction book written about it. Um, how he had some of his oil exploration uh, taken by corporations or something like that. And then there was some mainstream hit pieces. So Joe and Jamie sort of spent quite a bit of time trying to push Malcolm on these issues and sort of question his character as opposed to the science of the whole thing. And
mm.
then it just really didn't go very well. And Randall sort of agreed too. And Joe said, like, are you okay if I hold on to this for a while before I put it out there? And Randall was like, yeah, that's fine by me. So it's not like Joe's going against Randall. It
Sure.
just was a shit show of a show. And it never got published. And it's still not published. And Randall, and so
That's not a good look.
Randall went with Malk, especially because it's fucking about not free
Mhm.
energy, but clean energy, right? Like this is about like game changing
Well, it's also
technology.
Rogan's entire thing is, and rightfully so, it's free speech, free expression. So unless it's something like he explained his love of children or something, where it's
No,
like
I know.
my podcast, I have like two rules of my podcast: it's no pedophilia, no inciting violence. It's pretty basic, right? Right? You
Yeah.
want to talk about how Hitler was cool? Go for it. I don't agree with you, but go for it. It's
Yeah,
weird that Rogan's like,
I know.
I can't
I
do
know.
that.
Like, why attack and why
Why
attack him
that?
so much, right? And you're just gonna follow like a mainstream article that says like that he frauded some oil companies when really it was the other way around. Like,
And if he did, who cares? Well, I
where's the
thought
deconstruction? And this was going back 10 or 20 years or whatever. So it's like, well, what the fuck, dude?
that is weird.
Why?
That's
And then
very
of course it opens up the whole door to more conspiracies and
yeah.
more
Well, it's
people
like
like
is he getting
and
pushed on? Is yeah.
and and of course a lot of people were like, oh, he's just protecting Randall because Randall's being taken for a ride, and this guy like da da da. I mean, even though of course he hasn't asked Randall for money, and there's no Randall is not investing in it. There's no
Randall's
money
also an
there.
adult. He can use his own brain.
So because he's been talking to this guy for 7 years, right? And I mean, it's pretty fascinating what he's coming up with. So then Randall went and did a whole bunch of video series of with Malcolm on the stuff, on the technology, on his testing, on the way it works, and had a whole bunch of videos on his website. So then, and still Joe hasn't really had him back on to do it. But it's also created another controversy in the whole alternative history because it's also created this division now too, where people still aren't buying it, and they think that Randall's being taken for a ride, and then there's a division in the I think in the whole sort of alternative, what would you call it, research
Hmm.
community, So we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting as time goes on, but a lot has happened. I mean, they've done a lot of testing, they've done a lot of scientific analysis of it, and they've come together with guys like Bob Greenyer, who is his life's work, I think, is pretty much like this Fleischmann memorial stuff. He's a fascinating guy to listen to. I mean, I really do think there's something to this cold fusion. And of course, the guy that's running the conference, George George Howard from Cosmic Tusk. I mean, he's had a super keen interest himself on cold fusion. So it's a really interesting combination here of some people that have been following cold fusion and that sort of suppressed scientific work for a long time coming together at this conference in June. So June 16th, 15th, 16th, and 17th.
That is weird about Rogan. That doesn't sit well with me. And it's like, well, did somebody apply pressure to him? Okay, but he's talked out against the vaccine. And so I mean, clearly he's received pressure and he kept going. Why this then? You could say maybe they let the vaccine thing go, but this is even bigger than that. This is, free
Yeah.
energy. Okay, maybe, sure, maybe.
Plus,
I
he's
don't
had
know.
the other side. He's had the vaccine liars on. I mean,
That is, that
he's
is,
had
and it's like,
Hotez or those other
yeah.
yahoos on. So,
Well, and he's had
um,
on like Kanye, so it's like the idea of like protecting people. No, he's let him. I don't think he's necessarily like taking advantage of them, but he's let people come on and make a fool of themselves. I've done that
yeah,
with people. I'm like, you want to go for it, man. I'm not gonna like make fun of you, but if you want to sit here and talk about, whatever, it's on you. So it's like the precedent itself, whether it's right or wrong, is regardless. The precedent says is like he's never protected people before.
yeah, I know.
Hmm.
I know. And this is like, and so this, the other interesting part about this is because people are like, oh, the oil companies are going to, no, 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 no. Like, this is no longer about big oil putting this down. I mean, do you think the carbon cult is going to allow this to come out? Right. I mean, they're the ones that are going to be the squashing this. I mean, they
Hmm.
need to demonize carbon dioxide. They
Yeah.
need to tax this. That's what they've built this whole system upon is taxing and demonizing carbon dioxide. So even though there's a lot of people pushing back against it now, they're the ones that wouldn't allow this because this would provide a great solution to cleaning up the exhaust of all this cheap energy that we could use. You know?
Well, you can't implement climate
Right?
lockdowns
Imagine
if you find an
burning
easy way out of it.
imagine burning garbage and coal and all kinds of stuff and just being able to transmute the exhaust to oxygen and
It's like that meme. It's like, how come China isn't on board with the climate movement? It's like, well, they've already enacted communism. They don't need it.
yeah, exactly.
What
Exactly.
do you mean? Well, yeah, that's your end point, is they don't actually need it. That's hairy, man. I don't know. That does not sit well with me about Rogan. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's
Well, I mean, and it's funny that they haven't sort of had him back on to talk about it.
mm. No bueno.
But I mean, I'm sure Malcolm's made mistakes on the implementation of this as well, as far
Sure,
as like
sure.
science and social and the governmental stuff. But I mean, he has juggled a shitload of resistance along the way, and I think he's done a good job in general. But it's not satisfying the needs of the real sort of sciencey people, uh, in the mainstream, at least.
Well, I said we'd do another episode as that thing approaches. I'd love to talk about it more.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
All right. Well, hey,
Maybe I'll come on after I've been to the conference.
sure. Yeah,
It's
whatever.
only a month away, and we can talk
Yeah.
about it.
It is only a month away. It is May, isn't it? I don't know why I was like in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
distant future. Like, nah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
If
like
you want,
a
I mean,
couple
I
of
will
weeks.
come on
Yeah,
beforehand if you
yeah,
want, but I mean, that's
yeah,
coming up real quick.
yeah. No, let's do it, man. But yo, for now, I said we wrap this one up. That was an
All
awesome
right.
talk, dude. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
I always like talking to you. That's a good time.
Thanks, buddy.
I don't know if I'm more or less, if I have more or less questions than I did an hour ago, but
Yeah, exactly.
all right, dude. Well, hey, man, thanks for coming on here, guys. Please go in the description, and I'll put the link to the summit in there. And then what's the? Let me write it down so I can also put it in the description. Would you say the coupon thingy was?
Yeah, CS as in Cosmic Summit 5184.
CS
Yeah.
51.
5184. Yeah, that's like 15% off or something. And we don't get a kickback from that. So if
Yep.
you want to donate to the show, then that would be great.
Coupon. There we go.
Yeah. Our shows are at
Yep.
grimerica.ca and grimericaoutlaw.ca.
And then hold on, I've got the link to the podcast, but
Yeah, right on.
they get that in there too. America.ca, copy paste, and then come on, come on. Don't make me look like an idiot, Apple. And what was it? See, grimerica.ca. What was the other one?
Grimericaoutlawed.ca.
Okay. .ca. Copy paste. All right, put those in there. I'll update the description. All right, dude. Well, hey,
All
man.
right. Thanks, buddy.
I appreciate your time, man. And yeah, let's talk again sooner than later.
Okay. Take care, buddy. See ya.
All right, Graham. You have a good one. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.